Yeah. So looking forward to that, and one or two other guests. I want to do something a little bit more from a training perspective as well, aviation training. There's a few people that I'd like to get on, some guys that are sort of in mentorship roles in aviation, and we can talk to them a little bit, and maybe bring some aero a little bit more into the podcast, which I'm looking forward to.
I think there's Kortso Marumo, who's coming up later in November as well. He's our friend from Lesotho who's coming to finish up his flying training in Pretoria as well.
Yep.
He's dying to come and chat to us. And
Lesotho's pride.
Yeah. Shame. I mean, his channel, he's pushed out 30 odd videos now. He's busting at the seams to get to 100 subscribers. I think he's got 96 now.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
We'll leave his details again in the show notes. What a nice guy, because he actually put out a video of him, with us in it, and it was quite a nice promo thing for us. So thanks for that.
And welcome back, guys, to part 2 of a 3-part series on how to pass your SACAA commercial pilot exams. I have to say thanks once again to Ryan and Brian from the BryanAir Podcast. I was pleasantly surprised to receive another shout out from them. Really was not expecting that, and because of you guys, you have now propped up my channel past the 100 subscriber milestone mark. So thanks, guys, once again for that. So if you want to check out their podcast, click the pop-up banner above. It will direct you to the page, and they not only publish their videos on YouTube, but they also publish their podcast on various platforms, Apple as well as Spotify. So you can check them out over there. But of course, this channel is not about how much my subscriber count is. It is about the content that I put out for you guys that you enjoy. So without further ado, let's continue with this series on how to pass your pilot exams. Okay, so let's have a look at a bit of history regarding the civil aviation CPL and ATPL exams. What we have here is an AIC, Aeronautical Information Circular, which was published on the 30th of April 2014. Now, what this circular states is that there was an implementation of a new system for the CPL and the ATPL theoretical knowledge exams. And this came into effect on January 13th in 2014. Now, what does this mean? To put it simply, I think the exam that had the biggest of changes was that of air law and instrument procedures. Now, prior to 2014, instrument procedures and air law was one exam, right? But post 2014, it was separated into 2 exams. What are those 2 exams? Air law and instrument rating. Now, the instrument rating itself became much more challenging in the sense that it encompasses between 7 to 8 subject matters. To put it straightforward, if you have not gone through the experience of the CPL exams, doing the instrument rating exam would be very tough. But if you have, then it becomes slightly more easier. Okay, so why did they change the system? Well, let's have a look at the background here. It says the system had an outdated operating system. It was using Windows 98, had an outdated syllabi. There was misalignment between the syllabi and the examination questions. That's very important. And obsolete evaluation due to the rapid development of modern aviation. I mean, if we look at the topic ATG, right? Or even instruments, actually, let's look at instruments. Nowadays, we have a lot more glass cockpits than we had before. We have a lot more GNSS systems in terms of how we navigate, as well as the approaches that are available to us. We now have our nav approach, where in the past we did not. And so with the development of these type of systems, the questions that were available in the CAA question bank were outdated. Okay. Examinations were only possible on a fixed question, non-randomized basis. So people could pretty much just learn. If let's say if you had a classmate who had gone and done the exam, They could do it 2 times, 3 times, and they could pretty much memorize from that experience what the questions were and what they were about. So randomizing the questions just makes things a lot more harder for the student to do. The increasing disparity between the official published syllabi and available study material, and lastly, the deterioration of the examination effectiveness because of an overexposed question bank, meaning a lot of people knew what the questions were. Right. So 2014 was a big year for the changing of the type of questions and the type of exams that you have to answer for CPL and also for ATPL. Now, in addition to the change of exams back in 2014, in 2018, as you can see here, reference is made to the May-June 2018 notice regarding the above subject. What is the above subject? Well, the PEXO examination systems, that is the transition from the QMP to PEXO system. So simply put, the Civil Aviation Authority were changing the system in which you as a candidate would use to answer the questions. What you as the student the candidate, exam candidate would recognize is just the differences in the interface. And that is it. And so 2018, you had that transition, and the entire transition was effective from the 1st of February 2019. So that's pretty much it. Those are the two significant changes that occurred in the past 10 years or so, which is the 2014 change of number of exams and what the exams questions included and how you answered the questions, and then just the change of the system in 1st of February 2019. So what was my study strategy in completing and passing all of these exams? Well, my study strategy is as follows. 20% of which was ground school and 80% of which was self-study. Now, ideally, I would have preferred this to be a 50-50 split or even a 40-60 split. The reason being it was 80% self-study is because I was working full-time and I was not in South Africa. So I had to do most of my studying long distance, so to speak, and the timetable in which the ground schools provided for clashed with the period in which I had to be abroad. So, but you know what? It still worked out, and I'll explain to you how. So one important point I want to put across is that nowadays we live in a world where a lot of learning material is available online. Not only paid or subscription-based material, but also there's a lot of free material provided for online. And so one of the main challenges that you as an individual have to overcome is to perfect your method of learning. Once you know the most efficient way of how you learn, then you are able to assimilate and pull together the appropriate information for you to meet your learning objectives. And so the question is, what is that method of learning that I adapted for me to be able to go ahead and pass the exams? Let's get into it. Okay, so what I used, or what I eventually came to understand, the best approach for me was to use the reverse engineering approach. Now, what is the reverse engineering approach? Well, you know how some companies take some other company's product and then they dismantle the product and then they make a copy of that product and it looks pretty much the same? Sometimes it might even be better. Well, that's what we call reverse engineering, right? The same thing can be applied in studying. Instead, the product is the question and answer in the final exam. Now, you can't get the final exam questions, but what you can do is use online study bank questions. There are a number of websites that provide this service that have a whole host of questions, up to 16,000 or so questions available for all the different types of Civil Aviation Authority exams available for CPL and ATPL. So for me, the reverse engineer approach to this is to take an exam question that fits closely to the real exam and then break it down. So I've got 6 points in total as to how to go about reverse engineering studying for each of the exams. Number one is study the entire bank of questions. I'm going to give the example of the instrument rating exam, which was the last one that I had passed. The instrument rating exam from the bank of questions that I had studied from, which was pilot exams, had a total of 2,702 questions. So I went through all 2,702 questions at least once. Now, why did I do this? I did this because the questions direct the knowledge required. So, because studying for the CPL or ATPL exams, there was actually quite a vast amount of knowledge available to study. Now, any one of this knowledge this knowledge can be useful to you maybe 5 years from now or 10 years from now. You don't know. But the problem is, if you just grab any one of the books or if you grab any one of the videos on YouTube, you may be studying off at a tangent and you may not be studying the correct material needed for the exam and to pass the exam. So this is why I'm saying the questions direct the knowledge required. So if you're having any particular trouble in understanding the concepts behind the question, well, this is where you now need to use your AVEX, your Jefferson, or your Oxford Aviation Academy books, and as well as YouTube videos. There are a lot of videos on YouTube related to FAA-based questions, related to EASA-based questions, the Australian Civil Aviation Authority. A lot of videos available online that help to graphically, in terms of graphic form, explain to you the concepts behind the questions. So such material is therefore reference material for you to use when answering the questions. It gives you in-depth explanations. Now, I've said you need to study the entire bank of questions. You not only need to do this once, but you need to do this twice, going through 2 iterations. Now, what do I mean by this? I mean, you initially go through the entire set of questions once. I used to do it in batches of 50, 50, 50, and I would get a grade for it. So, for example, if I get anything below 75% or anything below 65%, I would record and say, okay, I'm going to come back to this. So going back to my example of instrument rating, I said there's a total of 2,702 questions. Yes? Right. So I went through 2,702 questions, and then I found in the end there were a total of about 1,700, between 1,600 and 1,700 questions that I needed to do again. Why? Because I had scored maybe 65%, 50-something% in doing them. Okay, so you have to go through 2 iterations of the entire question bank for that particular exam. Okay, thank you very much everybody for watching today's video. If you do enjoy this content, please do hit that subscribe button. We are at 96 subscribers. 4 more, that was a bit of a tongue twister, wasn't it? 4 more away from 100. So that's the target for this month. So like I said, if you enjoy this content, I think about 70% or so of you have not subscribed to this channel. So if you do enjoy this content, please do hit that subscribe button. And thank you very much for watching. Cheers, guys. Bye.